Welcome back, data leaders, Python learners, and SQL learners. Optimizing your database with advanced DDL techniques. A guide to managing tables, sequences, indices, and keys in database. What is DDL? DDL is data definition language. Till now, in this series of videos, we have seen the DML, that is data manipulation language, where we use select, from, where, having, group by, order by, and various related clauses like count, round, and all these things modify the data that is available in your database tables. What we are going to do from this video is we are going to create the tables itself, creating tables and the columns, creating sequences, managing the constraints, and creating indices on the columns. First and foremost, what is a table? Table in database parlance is called as a relation. Okay. However, from my perspective, I would think the table as a framework or a skeleton on which the data is built around. Okay. So framework and the skeleton, when you are thinking about that, based on the underlying framework only, the data will structure itself. Like the best analogy is the ice cube tray. You take a tray, and depending on the shape of the tray, excuse me, depending on the shape of the tray, as you pour the water into it, the ice cubes form, right? The same way, depending on the constraints and the way we have created the table with the various data types and various default values, the table forms. The data forms inside the table. Thinking the table in this way, having the analogy of an ice cube tray, will make you really get a good grasp of how the data moves. As I already explained in my initial video, if you take a look at my channel, under the playlist SQL Mastery, I have initially spoken about how data is like a moving liquid or a flowing water. So you move in order to make the liquid flow from one table to another table or one place to another database table. You need to have some way to select the data that you want to move and then move it using the programming languages or some other method that you know. If you are new to this series, this is the first video you're watching, take a look at these videos first so that you will know how to set up your own database in AWS EC2 instance and get a database for yourself. Or after that, you can actually look into the way of getting the data into the database and starting the SQL DML commands. So these videos will help you. These 5 videos will help you come up to speed. And also all these videos have related Kaggle notebooks from which you can execute the queries also. So I'll be using Dbeaver. So the tool that I will be using is called Dbeaver. This particular tool that you are seeing, I'll be using that extensively. So the point, again, coming back to the presentation, we have to look at the table as a framework. Okay, the framework is what we are going to create right now, and frameworks are always there to create some constraints. Okay, why will someone create a framework without any constraints? It's a set of rules that we are going to give to the table so that the data that comes into the table matches that rule, or else the database the server will not allow the data to enter the table. Okay, when we are going to keep the constraints, we will be checking these constraints: unique constraints, not null constraint, primary and foreign key constraints. You will see that when these constraints are not met, and if we try to push the data into such a table, then the table will reject the data. This is the key point that we need to understand before going into data modeling activity, because data modeling is basically data modeling is a higher level step of creating frameworks. Once your table frameworks are ready, then you can connect these frameworks. Okay, I will try to explain that in as simplest term as possible in this video. So we will be working on these things. Okay, the purpose. So purpose of creating a table, why create a table? To make the data selection easy and then moving it around. That's why you create tables. Why do you need a bucket? So you will have to collect the bucket in the water in the bucket and then move it, right? So table is like that. Why create indices on columns? That will help in sorting the columns faster. I will show you how fast it can be. Okay. And why create sequences? In case of sequences, sometimes you will have IDs, the host IDs, the review IDs, the name IDs, whatever IDs are there, you can automate the server to give the IDs directly. Okay, that is one of the main advantages of sequence. Why create constraints? As I explained, frameworks are the set of rules. So the data that enters into the table has to meet these constraints, or else it will be rejected, like these constraints that has been listed here. Not all the SQL databases are made same. Keep this in mind. You might actually come across various SQL flavors. There will be SQL flavor for Access, there will be SQL flavor for MySQL, and for PySpark, Spark SQL. The constraints that are given for each of these SQL frameworks will be different. So for an example, in PostgreSQL, you will have all these constraints. But if you go to Spark SQL, you will not have these primary key and foreign key constraints. Even unique constraints are not there. Only not null constraint has been implemented till date. So these things will come as you experience the various other tools available in the market. But knowing what constraint your database can provide is very important. Coming to the major alterations that we can do. How we can alter? So we can actually give a primary key, okay, and we can have unique columns, make the column values unique. We can create foreign key to connect two tables, and inside the same table itself we can have additional surrogate keys to ensure that we can refer to the table easily. These are all the various ways that has been provided here. So we can add the constraints while we are creating the table, or we can add it after also. We will see how to do that using alter command. We can make the foreign constraints during the table creation, or again we can use it later also. But foreign key purpose is to enforce relationship. So keep this in mind. Coming to the practical. In the practice that we are going to do, we will be using the existing Airbnb database tables for learning. And as I was explaining earlier, how to get this Airbnb database, how to get the data into that database, all has been explained in the earlier videos. You can actually take a look at these 3 videos. You will actually understand how to get the Airbnb data, transfer data into EC2 instance Postgres database server. Then you can take a look at how to do the SQL DML commands. And here you will look at the important SQL concepts like CTEs, CTAS, and subqueries and joins. Basics of join you will take a look at here. The point is that you will have application. These videos will be based on the direct application along with the data, and the data can be found at Kaggle notebooks. Okay, these videos will explain more clearly. Let me go back to the presentation. We will work on adding columns, we will work on adding constraints, creating indices, sequences, and then we will also truncating and dropping tables, and we will be using all these commands, so, and also much more. So that is the point. And the idea of keeping the data in Kaggle, sharing the notebooks, and providing the scripts is done to help you practice. The more you practice with a very basic data set in such a way that you can control the output is very important nowadays, because there could be hundreds of frameworks, hundreds of tools out there, hundreds of services providing you ways to manipulate the data. But the main advantage is that when you take any of your data, like for an example, the data that I have shared with you, you can try other data also. So you can go to the Kaggle notebook, you will see the entire process I have given. So better take a look, you will understand. Without further ado, let us go into the practice. Before that, if you like my video, do leave a like and share this video across, and subscribe to my channel so that you will get notification once I upload new videos. Let us now move to the Dbeaver tool. in the Dbeaver tool, if you are new to Dbeaver tool, as I told earlier, go visit this particular video, visit this particular YouTube video link, and you will be able to understand how to use Dbeaver, from where to get it and how to install it. All these things have been explained here. Okay, and let us move to EC2 AWS instance, so that you need to install. You need to ensure that the AWS instance is up and running. So go to your AWS instance page, and I'll be signing in and I'll be getting back to you. Just a minute. Back in the AWS EC2 instance, ensure that the database, the EC2 instance that is having the database is up and running, and you need to get the database, you need to get the IP address that is available here. Okay, once you have got the IP address from here, just take a copy of it, and then you can close this. You don't need this anymore, and move back to the Dbeaver tool. In the Dbeaver tool, you can actually go up to the connection in this location. You will be able to see the connection in this location. Right click on this, and you can do edit connection, and ensure that in the edit connection you have to give the correct IP, the host name here. Here should be the host name that you copied, and then test connection. This has to be done every time you restart the EC2 instance. The reason why we are doing this is, every time EC2 instance restarts, the external IP address, the public IP address, changes in case of AWS. This will be the same for other cloud services also, like Azure, GCP. Ensure use the same format. Rest of the details will be same. You don't need to be concerned. I hope that this is clear. Now what we are going to do is, once the database connection is ensured, you can see the tables already listed here. Okay, we are going to dive directly into creating the commands that we are going to learn today. Okay, so for that we need to first of all understand certain things. We have to create a new tutorial, new script. So click on this down arrow and click on new SQL script. So if you click that, it will create a new SQL script, and the new SQL script will automatically connect with the database connection, new DB. If it doesn't, then click on this link here and select new DB. That is how you connect the script with the database. Okay, I have already got a script here called as tutorial script. First and foremost, we have to start working on the what is it called as understanding what tables are there in our database. Okay, there is a command for that also. We are going to use that. So first of all, getting the tables in the database. You might be wondering, I actually don't need to use the command. I can see the GUI and find it out. I can see this GUI here and find it out, correct? The point is that when you are using the command line, you will get more information. So I will show you what is the difference in a moment. Let us say select. In Dbeaver, we have to always use from first, okay? And then we can use the select later. So the benefit will be very clear. Information schema is the table name that we are using, and that tables is what we will be looking at when we are going to select star from where this is how we are filtering it, where table schema is equal to public. Okay, once you execute this, you will see that this area you will get all the necessary data. So you can actually do this also, and you will see all the necessary data is coming. It is giving me the catalog name, schema name, table name, and also what are the views available. So here you will see that views are all separate. Here you get everything in a single table, and I have other tables also here. Okay, we can close this, and this is the first step to understand what is inside. Okay, next, our intention here is to start working on the DDL commands. Okay, we will start by first understanding how to create the indices. Okay, so what we are going to do is we have to make some check. Okay, we have to first of all select which table we are going to use. Okay, there are so many tables here. Which table we want to first use? Based on my my review of various tables here, I felt that review details could be one of the good candidate for teaching all the necessary aspects of data definition language. So let us see how this goes. Let us start by from review. As you can see, in case of Dbeaver, we can get autocomplete for the entire database tables also. That is one of the unique benefits that we get from Dbeaver, which we might, I think in SQL Workbench also there is a way to get autocomplete, but I'm not sure. PG admin, I have used it. We don't have any autocomplete option there. You should remember the table names. But Dbeaver has a very good functionality. I like this functionality a lot, and it helps to learn SQL in a very fast way. Let us start select RD star. Okay, you see it actually created the RD also, and I am going to say limit 5. So let me show you how the table looks. So this is the table, and it has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there will be one more also. Yeah, there is 6 columns here. Okay, this is the table that is available with us. Now what we are going to do is we are going to do certain checks on this table. Okay, first and foremost, we want to check, we want to do a sorting. Okay, before we do a sorting, I want to also show you something, that how to check whether there is key indexes already on this table. So in order to do that checking, we have to use from PG catalog. So there is another one table called as PG catalog. Inside that we have PG indexes. Okay, this is how we can find out. So we can say select star from PG catalog dot PG indexes, where table name. So you see this automatically populates. So the column names automatically populate. Table name is equal to the reviews detail. Reviews details. Reviews underscore details. And if I execute this, you will see it is empty. There is no indices right now. Okay, and every time I complete this activity, I can check the execution time also. If I click this show SQL execution log, I can see the execution duration, the time that is taking, and the number of rows that is written, and all the details I can get from this execution log by using this, clicking on this. So that is important right now. As for the next step, what I am going to do is I am right now going to check, okay, without having indices, without having any indexes, how much time it takes to sort the okay, let me first of all go here and show the, so there is actually reviewer ID, okay, and there is just simply ID also, and these are all not sorted. These are all numbers and they are not sorted in any form. So I want to sort reviewer ID in ascending format, and I want to see how much time it takes to return me the result. So let me do that. How to do that is we use from review details. Okay, select. I'm going to select all the columns, and I'm going to say order by review ID. Okay, and I'm making it as ascending. I'm not going to limit it. I'm going to ask it to return all the rows in this table, all the rows in this table. So let me execute this. Okay, if you see, it is executing and it has returned me the result. Okay, and this time the reviewer ID, you see, it is ascending in particular order. So it starts from very less number to it goes on increase, and you can see here the number of rows that has been returned, even though I did not give any limit here. What happens is, by default, Dbeaver takes a 200 rows limit, and it only fetches 200 rows from the database first. Only when you scroll down, the next 200 rows will come down. Okay, if I scroll down like this, if I scroll down and go to the end, then after that only it will again start connecting and again query, and you see this number increases. That is how the Dbeaver works. This is one of the benefits of working on Dbeaver, and it has a very intuitive way of showing you also, right? So calculate total row count, and you can also set how many rows it will pull. So all these things you can set here. Okay, the point here is that how much time it took to execute. Okay, it took for 400 rows, it took around 3.2 seconds. 3244 milliseconds or 3.2 seconds. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create indexes on the review ID table. Okay, so before actually creating the indexes, we have to also learn about drop index if exists. This is one of the ways of ensuring that if the script is given to someone else and they also check, they run the script, run this SQL script without even checking also, it will ensure that all the necessary activities are done. Like checking the indexes are available. If the indexes are available, it will delete it. Okay, first drop it. Okay, I am going to create an index called as review RID IDX. This is the index I'm going to create. So I'm going to drop it. It will say that, okay, does not exist. So it will skip. It's okay. Now, next I'm going to say create index RD RID IDX, sorry, on, I'm going to give the table name reviews details, and the column name I am going to do is reviewer ID. Okay, and I am going to execute it. I can execute it by pressing Control Enter key on the keyboard, or I can use this SQL execute statement button. Okay, I am using Control Enter now. Okay, and the moment I do Control Enter, the index has been created. You can check it by again going to this particular script, this particular SQL query, and you can execute this, and you will see now the indexes has been created. So you can see the index created here. It is a B-tree index. You don't need to worry about what those things are right now. You will learn it as you go, as you start experimenting, as you start reading more about PostgreSQL and SQL database. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to do the same thing. Okay, but we are going to type it. This is the most important point. I always insist on typing, and moreover, it's going to be way more easier in Dbeaver, right? I don't need to do a lot of activity. It does the autocomplete for me. So let us take some space here, and I'm going to use the order by rd dot reviewer ID. I'm going to say ascending. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing now. So let us see how much time it takes. You saw that there was a reply, and you saw the time. It actually took only 1 minute, 1 second actually. Here it took almost 3 seconds, but here it took only 1 second. So let us again go down here and let us execute let us ask for more data. Okay, if I scroll down, it will again ask for more data, and it has got additional data. So let us go and see how much log it has taken. So it has taken 1.3 seconds. Here it took 3.2 seconds. So this is the benefit of using index. Okay, so I hope that you understood this activity, why you are using index, and you also try it out with other columns for your reference. So this is very, very important as your number of columns becomes very huge. In case of reviews, let me show you how many columns, how many rows are there, not the columns, sorry, how many rows are there. So let us say from review details, select count star. Yeah, that's it. And if I execute, you see that there are 431,000 rows. So I think you are able to see that. Yeah, you must be able to see that. So that is the number of rows that is available. Now that we know how to create index, then we will actually move to the next step of creating the constraints. Okay, before we start creating any constraints, you should know how to check if the table has got any constraints or not. Okay, that is the first step. So how to do the checking? We again use the information schema table, information schema dot table constraints. This is what you have to use, and in that we are going to select all the things. It will come automatically. Okay, This is also, it is easier for me to show that what I am selecting. So I'm selecting table catalog, table name, constraint type. I don't need to remember anything. Okay, so this is the benefit. As you practice, right, then you can remember these things. Okay, then you might be even able to type all these columns. But initially, when you're struggling to learn SQL, if you forget these names, it becomes difficult to keep the motivation. So Dbeaver actually helps you to keep the motivation up and running. That is the reason why also one of the points I like about Dbeaver. Okay, here I am going to check what are the what is this called, what are the constraints on the reviews details tables only. I am not going to check anything else. This is the only table I am going to check. So if I execute this, it will take a moment and you will see it is empty. There is no any constraints. But now after we start adding constraints, you will see that this particular table starts filling. Okay, so this is how you check it first. Okay, but before actually we go and start creating constraints, there is one important point you need to understand. That is how to create sequences. Sequences are linked with how we create constraints. I will show it to you once we start creating it. Okay, but let us first finish sequences. It's very simple. All you need to do is create sequence and rev id sequence, and you need to provide the, it starts with the minimum value. Okay, you have to say with a start value, sorry, with start, you have to give the start value, it's start with, not with start. You have to say start with, say 0, min value again 0, max value let us say 100, and increment 1. If we give this, this sequence will get created. Okay, so let us execute this and you will see that this sequence got created. Now the question is that how to look at the sequence, whether it has got created or not. So for that you have to use something the similar way. There is a way to check the sequences available. The command for that is we select from information schema dot sequences select star information schema sequences. If you execute this, you will see that it will reply the various sequence that is available in this table. So the most important thing is it will look at the entire database. Okay, it will not only look at the table, it will look at the entire database. I did not filter anything here. You saw that, right? So this is how you check whether the sequence, so the sequence that we created, review ID sequence, you can see it here. How to use this sequence? Usually to use this sequence, what we do is we can actually attach the sequence to the particular column. So for an example, I can use I can actually say alter table. You can take any of the table, alter table, and you have to give the table name, and you have to, sorry, just a minute, alter table, you have to remove, you have to give the table name. I'm just giving an example here. So you have to give a table name, because I will not be using this method of creating sequence. I am showing it to you for a different purpose. So alter table, and then alter column, you have to give this command as alter column, and you have to give the column name. Column name also needs to be provided. That is part of the table name. It should be in the table. So for an example, if you take, let us take the reviews detail, that will be easier. So let us take reviews details, and inside the reviews details, we will have listing ID. I think we have listing ID. Let me check. Let me check that once. So let us execute this with limit 5. So checking is very simple, right? You have to just go and execute it. You will see what are the various columns available. So I have limited it to 5. So it will not take a lot of time to execute. I see listing ID is there, and I can attach the sequence to the listing ID also. So I say alter column listing ID, and then I set default next val. This is the command we need to use exactly. Okay, and next val, in the next val we are going to say use the sequence, this sequence. So what this basically does is, once we add any new row to this particular table, the listing ID will be automatically referred to this particular sequence. So this particular value, or this particular function will return a value. So I'm not going to execute this query, but I will show you what will return from this next value. So if I execute select, let me select star, not required, select next val, review ID sequence, and you see the next value is 0 because I have not initiated it anywhere. Okay, but if I, for an example, if I start using if I check, there are two functions we can use. We can use current val, that is the current value of the sequence, so it will be also 0. Okay, it is also 0. And now what happens is you can actually increment it. So if I say next val, this got incremented, and now if you check the current val, it will be current value will be 1. So you must be seeing how this is going, right? Next val increments the sequence, okay, by increment of 1, and the current val returns the current value of the sequence. This takes a little bit of experimenting, practicing to understand, but this is very important practice that you need to go through. Why? I will show you once we start creating the constraints. Okay, so the purpose of actually showing this will be useful once we start creating the constraints. So let us go to creating the constraints now. So this is how sequence works. Let us go and create constraints. So always save your script. Whenever you are typing, say, 1 query or 2 query, use Control S to save the script. So let me do that also. Let me mention that here. Use Control, because sometimes we do a lot of work, we forgot to save, and the system or the power goes off or something becomes, if the system hangs, then the entire work goes off. So save the script. Now, most important point is, now we are going to start working on the creating a table. So we have to understand where to create and what type of table to create. For that, the most important point, there are 3 points you need to remember before you create the table. Why you are creating a table? When you want to, when you start working on the table activity, right? You need to first of all know that why you are creating. Okay, what the table will hold, because it's a framework for the data. It is not there just for the sake of creating, right? You have to decide what columns are going to be there, what rows will the columns have, and whether the other tables in the database can already provide the data that you want. Sometimes we can directly provide. So what I mean to say is, so for an example, let us do a query right now. So let us say from listing details. Okay, and listing details is one of the largest table in the terms of columns. It is one of the largest table. I will show you how. Once I say select ld dot, you will see there are so many columns here. It has got almost 94 columns. Okay, 94 columns. Querying every time will be insane. So let me show you what will happen if I query all the 94 columns. I say star and I say limit 2. I'm not going to even limit 5. Okay, if I say limit 2, you will see that it will list me all the 90 columns here. All the 90 columns are coming down here. Okay, and it is extremely difficult for us to even understand what is going on. Okay, these times it is better to split these tables into small tables, and that activity. So this particular table that you saw, was not in normal form. So it is not in any of the, this is in zero normal form. In the next video, I will be explaining what is zero normal, what is first normal, second normal, and third normal form. And this is in zero normal form, meaning that this particular table has lots of repetitions. The columns are also repeating, the rows also repeating. Working with this table inside a database is extremely difficult. The reason it actually involves lots of theory, so I'm going to skip this here. Do a search in the internet, you will get understanding of why normalizing is important. Okay, it relates to how fast you can update the table, not just do analysis on the table. Since we are going to do analysis, it is not important for us, but if you are going to do a database management, then this is extremely important. Okay, but knowing why third normal form, first normal form, second normal form helps is there. It is significant for even if you are doing data engineering, data analysis, or data science also, you must know this, or else there will be certain cases you will get really frustrated that why the data is not coming out the way I want. Okay, that is because it is not in a particular form. So that is the reason. So anyway, so that is the purpose of actually reviewing the rest of the tables, and we have to decide which columns, which rows we want. What I am going to do is I am not going to work on this very big table. Okay, it will be extremely difficult for me to explain and also for you guys to understand what is going on. Okay, the reason actually when others are teaching, I have seen from the other other courses out there, they actually have an example table to explain this. Okay, but I'm not going to use example table. I'm going to use the actual data that is provided, that is available in the wild, the Airbnb data, and I'm going to take one of that table and I'm going to work on it. In this way, what will happen, you will have the confidence that if you follow this process, you can work on any table, any data that you are given to you. You have to use the same process. Okay, let us first get the review details. So you will see that there are how many columns here? So there are actually 6 columns. This is the longest column, the comments column, and we have listing ID, date, reviewer ID, and reviewer name. And you will see that there are repetitions in this rows, in these columns also. The reviewer name is repeated, the listing ID is repeated. So you can see that right here, you can see the listing ID is repeated. So we can do some kind of group by activity on this, but before that we need to know the numbers. Okay, how to know the numbers? So that is where we start using distinct keyword to find the unique variables. So what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to do just a minute. We have already counted the review details rows. We saw it was around 431k rows was there. Now we are going to count, select. Okay, this takes some time to get used to. So we have to start with from review details as RD, and we say select this count. We are going to count something, open the bracket, it will actually open the bracket, and we are going to make distinct. So you see this particular command, I am going to use distinct, and I am going to use this command on rd.reviewer name. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Ensure that you close the bracket as the reviewer count. I have to give an alias name, so I'm giving reviewer count, and once I execute it, you will see that there are 54,244 reviewers as per the name. Let us do the same thing. I'm just going to copy this. Okay, but this time what we are going to do is, instead of using reviewer's name, we are going to use reviewer ID. The intuition initially will tell you that reviewer ID and reviewer name should have same count, right? But let us check it out. This is the importance of checking. So you see the reviewer ID is having almost 411k rows, even if you count. So once we count, there are distinct reviewer IDs, 411 distinct reviewer IDs, while there are only 54,000 reviewer names. So what is happening here? When the table is getting formulated, there will be lots of times when the names inside the table are removed for the sake of safety of the privacy, for the sake of privacy. Okay, so when this particular table was released, the reviewer names were changed, but it was changed in such a way that it is not directly matching with the reviewer ID. Okay, these things can happen pretty often. Okay, when you are going to work, you need to also check all these things. And as an analyst, when the data is given to you, the data engineering team will also obfuscate the names as much as possible so that you don't understand where the data is coming or who the customer is. Customer's privacy is very important even inside the company. So that is the primary point that we are actually researching right now. So we have some idea right now. So we can actually work on reviewer name. Probably we can take the names, we can create separate name IDs, and what we can do is we can count the number of reviews each name has created. Okay, so let us do this. Let us try from review details. Okay, say select rd dot count. Okay, count. What we are going to count? We are going to count rd dot comments. We can count anything for that matter. We can say star also, that will not matter, as review counts. And I am going to select the name, reviewer name, and the group by, what I am going to do is group by. You see the way I am following the process. I started with from, went to select, then I came to group by. So this way of working in Dbeaver is pretty common. But when you are writing SQL queries, you will be always told that, okay, first use the select query and then come to from. This is opposite in Dbeaver, because once you give from, you first tell the table name, Dbeaver will know what columns to provide you, or else it will not be able to find out which column to share to you. Then I'm going to say group by rd dot reviewer name, and I'm going to count. Let us execute this. So you will see that, okay, there is an error. So whenever I get this error, this is a good sign that we will learn something. It says that schema rd does not exist. Okay, why? Let us go and check it out. There was a mistake here. I shouldn't have used rd here. So I have to just say count. That's a typo. So it executes and it gives me a lot of data. So it is giving me that how many has been counted and what are their names. Okay, but it is not very clear. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually make it a little more ordered. So we can say order by, and again we can go here and we can say count. We can use review counts, should not be a problem. So now if you use review counts here, it will work. Okay, order by can see the select data. Order by select data, we are going to say descending. Okay, and now here you see that we see the names here and we see the number of counts. David, Michael, Sarah, Laurel, all these names are coming down here. Let me make it little higher. You see the names and you see the review counts. We can create a table out of these review counts and review names, and we can use it elsewhere. Okay, that is what we are going to do next. What we are going to do is we are going to create a table. In order to create table, you have to say create table. The table name is reviewer. Okay, the table name is simply reviewer. I am not going to add anything, and I need to give the column names here. First and foremost, I am going to create a column name called name ID, and its type is integer. And next, I am going to create a column called as reviewer name, and the type is varchar. And after that, number of reviews. These are the three columns I am going to create. Number of reviews will be integer again. These are the three columns I am going to create. Once I execute, once I write these three things, I execute it. Okay, and now I get an error. Okay, what is the error? The error, it says that reviewer already exists. This is because I already have a table called reviewer. So before, whenever you create anything, always do type this command: drop table if exists. This will actually ensure that even if the table is existing, right, it will drop it so that the error will not come. Drop table if exists reviewer, and execute this. If the table is existing, it will drop it. If it is not, it will skip it. Now if I execute this, it will say that creating table reviewer, it has been done. Now once the table has been created, what we need to next do, how to insert data into it. That's what we need to do, right? But we have to check one more thing. We have to check what are the constraints on this table, because to my knowledge, I have not given any constraints here. I have just given a bare table. So I will use this particular command and I will execute it. You will see that there is no constraints. We cannot work with table without any constraints. That will create, this will allow any kind of data into it. Okay, it will not, inside the column integer, it will not allow varchar. So for an example, if I say name ID as alpha, ALF, PHA, it will not accept. It will have to give number only. So this basic constraints are there. These are all data type constraints. What I am trying to say is the data constraints, the data values that enters into this table has to be constrained also. That is not available. Okay. So before actually going to give any constraints, let us work why these constraints, why sequences are required. This particular table will explain to you. Now, in order to insert data into the table, what you will need to do is we have to say insert into the table name reviewer. Okay, and we have to give all the three. So we have to give name ID, we have to give reviewer name, and we have to give number of reviews. Okay, and then at the second row we have to say values. In the values we have to say 1 for name ID, and reviewer name is first person. This is just an example I'm creating, and the number of reviews is 3. Okay, this is an example, and the second value that I'm going to use is in the same format. I'm going to say this is 53. Why not? Second person, and this is values. I can give whatever value I want. I will say 10. Okay, I will execute this. You will see that immediately there's an error. So let us see what is the error. Okay, the column number of relation does not exist. Okay, what is the problem here? If you go up, the num of reviews, just a minute, there is a typo here somewhere. Okay, it took some time for me to understand the spelling mistake I had made here. So reviews has a E here, so I have to maintain the same thing here, or else it will not work. The major point is that when you face some kind of a error, you have to read the code from the bottom. So read the code from the last row and start going up. You will see the error very easily. So this was one of the trick I learned from Learn Python, the hardware book. So there the author actually told that read the code from the back. You will be able to find the issues very fast. Okay, now that we have actually entered the values, you will see that we can do select right now. So from, remember we have to use from here, reviewer. Okay, select star from reviewer and press enter. You will see that all the values are in. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, first of all, let me drop the table. I'm going to drop the table. I'm going to create the table again, but this time what I'm going to do is, let me actually make this second time. Okay, this query is run second time after dropping the table. Okay, so in this way you'll understand what is going on. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the name ID. Okay, I'm going to remove the name ID, and I am also going to remove the number here, and you will see what error comes, because number is something that it can be repeated very easily, right? So let me execute this and you will see that it actually inserted. How is this even possible? Let us check it. Okay, let us check what number has come in the integer area. Select from reviewer details, not reviewer details, I have to use reviewer only. From the reviewer, select star, and actually there is no value here, but still it accepts. Okay, now let us see what happens if I do some more things. If I say insert into, you see what is happening. If you don't give the constraints, so here I am going to say name ID. I'm going to give the name ID now, but I'm going to remove the reviewer name. I'm not going to give the reviewer name, and I'm going to say 3, and I'm going to say 44. Okay, and I'm going to execute, and this is also will execute. No error was raised. And once you see the date table, you will see how absurd the result is. Okay, you'll see that there is no reviewer name, but there is review details, and there is review name ID. So such kinds of errors will happen. This kind of error is not acceptable when we create tables. Okay, how to constrain these things? How to constrain, tell to the input or the program that is inputting or the human who is inputting that you have to give a null, you should not leave this space empty. How to do that? You will see that in applications you get an error that the value is null. How is that raised? So let me now, what we are going to do is we are going to create the table again in a different fashion. Just give me a moment. Now our goal is to create constraints for these columns. So how are we going to create constraints for these columns? There are two ways. We can actually start working on altering the tables directly. So what we'll do is right now we will start altering the table that is in front, which we already have. So we say alter table reviewer. We already have this table reviewer. Okay, and we say alter column, and we say num of, ensure that you make the same mistake once you made it, and set default as 0. What this will do is it will defaultly give a value to the num of reviews. So I will show you how this works. Okay, this will get executed, and it is taking time because it is reconnecting with the database. So since if there was any gap, then it has to reconnect with the database, and then only it will give me the clearance. It is connecting back. That is the first alteration I'm doing. And next, what I'm doing is I am going to also add that there should not be any nulls. Okay, you will see the importance of this particular activity. So I say reviewer, and I say alter column. You can actually add columns also. I will show you how to add column in a moment. After this particular activity is done, I will stop this video and I will start another new video. So this video has already become very long. Alter column reviewer name. Okay, set not null. So I am telling specifically that I don't want these columns to be null by any chance. Okay, so I'm going to execute this particular value also, and I see that I'm getting a error. So let us see what is the error. Okay, so it is saying column name ID relation reviewer contains null values. You see this particular error is what I was telling. So already my table, if I go and execute this, my table has got null values, right? This has got null values. So if I execute this particular not null, immediately it will say, okay, this table data in this table does not meet this constraint. So I cannot set it. So what I need to do is either I have to drop the table and I have to recreate it. Okay. So this is the importance of setting the constraints ahead of time. So you saw how the importance is setting the constraints, and we can also add constraints. So we can add columns. So let me show you how to add columns. Let this error be there. I will show you how to correct it in a second. So let us add the table, add a column where we get the current timestamp. So that is what we are going to do next. So we are going to add a column. Again, we are going to say alter table reviewer. Okay, and I say add column update timestamp, update TS. TS is timestamp, and the the column type is going to be timestamp. The data type is going to be timestamp, and the default value this timestamp is going to have is current timestamp. This current timestamp is the internal function that gets the time stamp of the actual data. Okay, and I can execute this also. This will execute. This is not actually a constraint. This will execute. So that's not a problem. So let us now see what data we get. You'll see that there is an additional timestamp update that I got. So this actually gives me the timestamp data on all the columns by default. And the moment I added this, particular column, whatever time was there at the time, it was taken as the default timestamp. That is how this works. So let me actually show you. Yeah, you see this? That is how the default timestamp has taken. We have done all these things separately, okay, but this is not how you have to do it. It is actually inefficient. What you need to do is, first of all, you need to understand how to truncate the table. Let me show you what is truncate. Okay, truncate table reviewer. Okay, once I type this is actually different from dropping table. Okay, if I say truncate table reviewer, it will only remove the data. So now if I go and do select from reviewer, there will be no data. So after I truncate, there will be no data in the table, but the table will be still there. You see the table is still there. But if I say drop table, so if I go up, where it is, yeah, if I say drop table, if exists, then the table itself will be dropped. So if I come and execute select now, I will get the error. So you see, I am getting the error. So if I say, click on this, you will see that reviewer does not exist. So this is the difference between truncate and drop. But this is something you also need to remember. That's why I'm introducing it here. So there are certain commands I will introduce as I go. Now the way I am going to create the table now is little different. I'll be copying this, okay, to show you the difference. Okay, that will be much easier to see how it is. We are going to change it. So first and foremost, I'm going to say name ID is going to be serial. Serial is a way of telling to the Postgres database server that this has to be a automatically incrementing serial. So there is serial and big serial. So we are going to use only serial here. And I'm going to say this is primary key. Okay, this is also important. I'm going to say primary key, and I don't need to say unique. So it will be unique only. And next here I'm going to say not null. Okay, this is important. I am going to say not null. And number of reviews I can say default 0. Okay, and another column I am going to add. So let me bring this down. And another column I am going to add update TS, and this is timestamp. I am going to have timestamp. Sorry, default is current timestamp. Okay, and moment I do this, what will happen is, am I missing something? Just a moment. Yeah, I think I have got all the column names. Yeah, I've got all the column names, and I am going to execute this. Okay, let me execute this. The new table would have got created. Okay, now let us check the constraints that is already on this table. How to check the constraints? We can go here. We can select this particular query, and we can come down to the end, and then we can execute this query here. And once you execute it, you will see that there are this has considerable number of constraints. So let me actually I think I can give the column name also. Just a minute. Sorry guys, just give me a moment. Okay, I have to check and get back to you guys how to get the column names here. But we can see that the not null constraint has been taken up without any issue. And also when we give primary key, that is also considered as not null. It has to be enforced, and the name ID is considered as serial. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to insert the data into table. So this time we will come here. Okay, we will insert the data into table in a different format. What we are going to do is we are going to say insert into table. Insert into the table name is reviewer. Okay, and I am not going to give any value to name ID. So that will be by default, it will be taken. So I am going to work on reviewer name and the number of, okay, let me not give number of reviews also for the first data. Okay, and I am not going to give timestamp also. Timestamp also will come by default, right? And I am going to say values, and values is first person. And you see, whenever I am giving the string value here, the text value inside the values, it is always in the single quote. That is how you have to enter. It's a syntax requirement. Once I insert this, it will insert. You might be wondering, okay, I did not give the name ID, I did not give any of the number of reviews, then how did it work? Let us check what is the data available inside the table now. Select, you have to use from reviewer. You might be wondering, okay, why the reviewer table is not getting auto-populated? That is because the this particular table is not still recognized by Dbeaver internal what is it called, cache. So that's why it's not selecting. So if I do this, and you will see that number of reviews I did not give. The first person I gave, it came in properly. The name ID got auto-populated. Number of reviews became 0 by default because I had given default as 0, and updated timestamp, the timestamp that I input the data. So now let us do something different. I am going to insert another set of data, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to say number of reviews also I'm going to give. Okay, sorry, why? Yeah, num of reviews. Ensure that the spelling is as per the data that you are given. And this time I'm going to say Superman, and I am going to say some ridiculous number, and I'm going to enter, and it got entered. Now if I do this select, you'll see that the number got entered, the name is Superman, and this name ID got automatically incremented. And the point here is that now let's check the sequence. So there is a way to check the sequence, right? So the way to check the sequence is select, again mistake, so you have to practice. So from information schema dot sequences, then I use select start, and I execute this, and you will see that I have a new sequence here, reviewer name ID sequence integer, and the precision is 32. This is the sequence that is updating here. So let me show you that also. So if I say select current val, and I give the name, reviewer name ID sequence. So let me type it. Reviewer is the table, name ID is the column name, sequence is the sequence name. So if I execute this, you will see current val is 2. So the same current val that we got, the current val is 2, right? So if I execute now this command, so let me say select next val. If I select next val and I say reviewer name ID sequence, I will give next val as 3, and now let me again insert a new value. You will see what has happened. All these things you have to do it the way I am showing it to you guys, right? So for initial time, when you are see it at a high speed, so at 2x speed or something, and then you can start practicing it. So that is how you can do get up to speed with this. So let us give Batman. Okay, and Batman has to have little if you give anything apart from numbers, it will not accept. So if you insert this, it will get inserted. Okay, now go up and do a select again. So if you select, you will see that the value that it comes out is different. The value that it is taking a moment, guys, yeah, does come. And you see, instead of getting 3, let me zoom up. Instead of getting 3 for Batman, I'm getting 4. That is because I actually incremented the sequence by using this next val. By using this next val, I incremented the sequence. So let us go back to the presentation once. So right now, till now we have seen. I was expecting to complete all this activity in single video, but it is taking more time. I have to cover a little more additional data on how we join the tables and send the data into the table. So I have another 30 minutes of information. So I will take that as a separate next video. So stay tuned for the next video. So I will update this video, will continue in that as part 2. Okay, so we have come up to sequences, and we have also created constraints. We have seen all these things, but we have to use some more examples. By this itself, you can actually go to the data modeling video that I'll be uploading. In order to practice, I will have additional another 30 minutes of video. Take a look at that. It will be very helpful. And the most important things is, guys, that practice continuously. Okay, take different data and try to practice. And do subscribe to my channel. That is very also important. And so why to subscribe? Because you will start getting the notifications whenever I am uploading the videos to the YouTube, my YouTube studio. So that is the reason why I'm asking you to subscribe, and do like and share the content to whomever wants to understand these concepts. So with this, guys, stay tuned for the next video. I will immediately upload it as soon as possible. See you guys. Till then, take care and practice.